You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, as not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, well, happy Tuesday evening. For those of you who were listening to America Off the Rails last night, I said it was Tuesday last night, but that just proves how tired I was after a Monday. So it is officially Tuesday. It is actually about 15 minutes past the hour, because thanks to a Skype update, we got a late start to the show. But it's June 20th, 2017, and we have a lot to talk about tonight, because Democrats, you can suck it. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? My bad.
I mean, this is just delicious, isn't it?
Oh, after hearing, for like the last month that, Trump was the worst president ever, which still remains to be seen, to be honest, but that they were going to have a referendum on all of his policies, and they were going to basically take a seat that hasn't been blue in decades, and it was all going to be Trump's fault. And how's that working out for you? Just ask.
I mean, this is even funnier to me also because of, first of all, the whole thing about him not really being so far out of district, and why was he even eligible in the first place? But that's a whole different matter. And then also that the national Democratic machine got behind this. I mean, they have acted like this is the most important election, on the national scale. It has national implications. We've heard it so much. We've sang it. It can't be, they just can't overstate it. This is so incredibly important for this country right now. And they put celebrities out there for it. They threw so much money at it, and he lost.
I really wish.
I think I'm gonna have a drink to that.
I wish I had the news ticker thing, because you actually gave me an idea for a headline. So, and now I've suddenly lost it. Dang it! It was going to be funny too. See, this is going to be one of those nights, because I'm moving like a million different miles an hour in like a million different directions. So I had a thought and I lost it. Oh wait, no, that was it. So breaking news: Democrats, now no longer interested in busing in voters, have now decided to bus in candidates, and still lost.
I mean, this is just icing on the cake. Oh, I can't get over it. It's pretty funny. Sorry, GA06. We have been hearing about GA06 for how long now? And I just told you about this, but there was a funny thing where a guy that writes for the Weekly Standard, and he's from there, that says, if you know how sick of people are in this district because of the national machine just, going in there and trying to do everything they can to get Ossoff to win, that people are putting signs on their doors, like one that had a sign taped to their doors in Sharpie, all caps, that said, "We are convicted felons. We lost our right to vote. Go away," which just tells you, how annoying it is with all of the door knockers, all the voting solicitation during election seasons. Imagine what it was like for them. They are sick of it. They are over it. And I'm sure they're pretty dang glad that that movement to try to get him elected is gone.
So a little bit of a breaking story in regards to this as well, because, lots of folks were throwing money at this. I mean, there was, like you said, National Democratic Machine involved. Folks in California were throwing like $50 million. Well, you know how we're always so upset about all the taxpayer money that Planned Parenthood gets? Guess who donated $1 million to the Ossoff campaign?
Who?
Planned Parenthood.
Oh, of course. Well, poor planning on their part.
Well, everything they do is poor planning.
The poor Planned Parenthood.
That's kind of their shtick. You've planned poorly.
The poor planned non-parenthood, actually.
That's kind of their shtick, is you've planned poorly, so let us come help take care of your mess.
Right, and help you not have parenthood. That'd be great.
Yeah, they really should change their name, because they really don't have anything to do with parenthood.
No, and I mean, there just continue to be more stories coming out and videos coming out of people trying to get services and them, sending them elsewhere. This just happened this week. So they basically, unless you are there for an abortion or the initial checkup, they are a referral service, especially in a lot of areas that don't have the larger, well-funded Planned Parenthoods. They basically are a referral service. So all of these people pushing the agenda and the narrative that they provide all these wonderful services to women that they can't possibly get anywhere else. We already knew that a lot of it was that they were full of it, and we suspected that they were full of the rest of it. I had some personal experiences of knowing that they were at least somewhat dishonest about what all they provide and how many places actually provide that full realm of services that they claim to have. I already knew that was untrue from going to several in my area. And actually several areas that I've lived in over the last decade. I've known that that's not entirely correct, but everyone will say, no, but look, see, it's on here and it's on the budget and yada, yada, yada. Well, they're just being exposed more and more. And I'm sorry, this isn't going to, for as long as people have cell phones with a camera on them, and it's only going to get worse. People are going to have glasses with cameras on them. They're going to have all sorts of things to be able to film you without you knowing it. Their problems are not going away. They're going to continue to be outed.
No, exactly. And I think that's the part that these people don't seem to understand. We are officially in the what can really be now termed definitely the information age, because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, that's like the stuff that you and I do. Anymore, you can actually do an entire show from your phone if you know how, because of the technology that's available. We have literally more computing power in our pocket than what put men on the moon.
Yes, absolutely, which is so insane to think about. There are so many things like that, too. Like nowadays, I saw one the other day that NASA even retweeted, was that there's like more technology in most microwaves now, or in like a lot of various regular household appliances, because of some of the bells and whistles that are on them, that there's more technology in those and more power in those devices than there were in the technology that put men on the moon. It's crazy to think about, which also makes that whole feat that much more spectacular. But they're just not going to be able to just put out their own statistics, their uncorroborated, narrative, and get away with it. And not just them, all sorts of people, or all sorts of businesses, all sorts of organizations are not going to be able to do this anymore. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think it's fine for someone to say, I don't want you openly filming this because of this sort of privacy or that sort of rights of this or that. But, people still are going to do it, and it's going to get leaked. So just know that you can try to keep people from filming things in your place of business, and you have the right to, but it's still going to happen, and things are going to get exposed. So tread carefully.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me anymore that these people continue to try to spin things the way that they do, because we've seen too many things. We've seen way too much proof. I mean, that's like a few months ago, we played some audio of some phone calls that were made to Planned Parenthoods around the country where they were specifically asking, do you offer these type of services? And one lady was like, well, I understand the name's misleading, but really all we do here is abortion. I actually saw a news story the other day where they were actually turning people away for prenatal care because they weren't coming there for an abortion. Now I admit that doesn't happen at every single location, but the fact that it's happening at all is very disturbing. And the fact that these people are so embedded in and involved in elections is crazy because they're using our money to try to influence elections.
Well, did you see the other day where they were doing a hashtag about, like what women want or something? I think it was what women want. They were saying something like that. And it just left it wide open. They were saying for politicians to stay out. Or, it was like what women want in however many words. Anyways, they put out several about for men to stay out of their bodies, and then for politicians to not be able to make laws about their bodies. And it's like, okay, then you don't need the funding. Then give back the dollars that you get from government and from politicians, because a lot of and don't give money to politicians. So, they didn't think that one quite through.
Well, here's my thing with that, because you want politicians to stay out of your body. Okay, fine. Well, let them stay out of your body, but what about the body that's growing inside of you? Because that's the other problem that these abortionists are running into, is because technology doesn't allow them to float the, well, it's just a clump of cells until the day it comes out narrative anymore. Because we can see now through 4D imaging that these are people. They don't look like the freaky little science book pictures that we all used to see in sex ed classes for very long at all. Because honestly, when I was a kid growing up, we were made to believe that it basically looked like some sort of a little miniature frog until the day that it popped out.
Oh, man. I mean, I think that the main thing that is, just being, I can't get my thoughts together. Why can't I get my thoughts together? I'm having a hard time here.
Hey, that was me a minute ago, so it may pass. You might get lucky.
I know. I think you're right though. Like the technology, first of all, is not going to allow them to lie about it anymore. Second of all, it's not going to allow them to manipulate what's actually happening within a woman's body while she is pregnant with this other very obvious real being. And I mean, it's always funny when they're like, well, if, and I'm like, what did you think it was going to be? A dog? Like, what could it be? A giraffe? Like, no, of course it's going to be, it's just so stupid. But
it's going to be a unicorn. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's just really crazy. But, I think that the main reason they hold on to this, just the only reason that they really hold on to this is to keep the funding. I think they want to keep the funding. Because otherwise, there is plenty of support. There are plenty of people willing to give them money to do exactly what it is that they actually do. There are plenty of people willing to support an organization that says, we refer out for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but we do provide abortion, and we do provide birth control, and we do provide the morning after pill. So if you want help in controlling, terminating, preventing pregnancy, then we are your one-stop shop. And I think that there is an appetite for that, unfortunately. And I think that there would be enough support to keep them plenty afloat, but you would no longer be able to trick the American people into funding it.
No, exactly. So, I've been kind of keeping up with what's going on in the Twitterverse in regards to this GA06 situation. And guess who was actively campaigning for us off?
Alyssa Milano?
Yes. She was tweeting all over the place today, apparently actively campaigning for him. And all I gotta say is, Alyssa Milano, please continue to do you, because every campaign you touch dies.
I mean, it really does, doesn't it? I think, she should definitely continue. Go there, support it. Walk the streets. Help try to get the vote out. Try to get all your celebrity friends to donate. There's no sure way to to secure a loss than to have Alyssa Milano there.
Dude,
I mean,
I'm
looking
telling you,
cute as a button, don't get me wrong. She's looking hot while she's doing it. She is a pretty little lady, but...
Oh, see, don't get me started, because I had, like, the biggest crush on her when I was a kid. We are not...
I wanted to be her. Are
we're
you
not-
kidding?
we're not that
Who's
much-
the boss? I wanted to be her.
Yeah, we're not that far apart in age. But anyway, we should get a bunch of conservatives together and start a GoFundMe account to make sure that she has all the money she needs to go to these campaigns and help them lose.
Yep, why not? Oh, she has been kind of apparently screwed over, I guess, but she's losing. She lost all her money.
Oh darn.
Yeah, something's happened. I don't know. Her people screwed her over or something, but I haven't read into it. But it shouldn't matter though. If she is as social justice, warrior worthy as she claims to be, then it won't really matter because they don't need money to go fight for the right cause, right? They do these things. They speak out because they need to, and they live small, and they're idealists. So, you don't need all of those materialistic things, and you don't need, you just need yourself, your voice, and to be able to influence the policy with your voice, with your people, and, get the ideas out there and change those hearts. Right?
Well, that's what they say, but anytime they anytime they try to do that, it doesn't actually seem to work very well for them. Look, let's face it. Honestly, at this point, it's starting to look like 2008 and 2012 were anomalies. I think at that point, the American people were just so tired of us being in a war that it dragged on forever that they elected a guy that said he was going to get rid of it, and then he didn't get rid of it. And then all this other bad crap's happened, and then the Democrats didn't do anything to fix the other bad crap that's happened, so then people started slowly turning things over to the Republicans. But I will tell you this right now, as good as this feels right now, to honestly be watching the Democrats lose over and over and over again, I swear, we should put it to some sort of a montage, like when the dudes get knocked out on all the major fight movies. We should put together a video montage of that and find a way to put it on YouTube and just put it out about the elections that they keep losing. Anyway, sidetracked there for a second. But
well, let me read something real quick about Joy Ann Reid put out. And he does make a true point. It's just that this is not the narrative that they set out before this. Before he lost this election and he pushed it to this special election, they made it out like he absolutely could win, like this would be awesome, all these things. But now, of course, they're kind of backtracking. So she says, interesting to see Dems and liberals speculating more money or different positioning would have helped Ossoff rather than being a Republican. Republicans vote for Republicans, particularly in Republican districts. Democrats can't turn those voters into Democrats or convince them of how terrible Republicans are in Washington or in their own backyards. Republicans like Republicans. They only vote for Republicans. And they like Republican policies, including tax cuts for the rich and cutting Medicaid. They vote for that stuff because they want it. John Ossoff ran quite a strong campaign, but short of actually being a Republican, there's nothing more he could have done, except for one thing. Find more Democrats and get them to the poll. That's the magical elixir you're looking for, folks. Find more Dems. Republican voters are not going to suddenly stop liking tax cuts and cutting anti-poverty programs and deporting people or Donald Trump. They're going to keep liking those things and voting for them and for Republicans because, well, they're Republicans. So great job, Ossoff. Strong race. You found lots more Dems, registered lots of Dems, and got some Indies to vote Democratic. Doing that was very helpful to the Georgia Democratic Party and made the race competitive, when really it shouldn't have been competitive because it's a district full of Republicans. I wondered how long it was going to take for us to get to that. See, it shouldn't have even been this close because it's a Republican district. Well, before this, you were saying that no, he was going to win this Republican district. So now you're going to go, well, it's really still a win, which we knew that they would spin, right?
Yeah, because, to the Democrats, winning is winning because everybody gets a trophy.
Well, right. That's part of it, too. Anyways, so they said, then she says, one more note. You want to know how California went from a reliably red state to a solidly blue one? Demographics. Republicans in California didn't suddenly become more liberal. The population changed. And it's like, well, yes. partially. But anyways, it's that now we're going to get to see all of this is actually still really good, and he was never supposed to win anyway, so look how close he made it, so it's still winning. That's what we're going to see for the next at least few days.
Oh my Lord. So I was busy railing on George Takei today because of the idiot thing that he did that we talked about on the last show, where he made the fact that the cop that actually saved Scalise was both female and a lesbian. So I missed another very relevant tweet, which just made me really chuckle, which is why I had to mute my microphone. Because yesterday he was tweeting, "One day left to flip the 6th. Let's do everything we can to help elect Jon Ossoff to Congress in GA6 tomorrow." Hey, George, how's that working out for you? Just wondering.
Nothing works out for George, actually.
Well, dude, so I ranted a bit about him today, because the thing with him is, and you and I have talked about this before, my dad was a very mechanical guy. He worked in a body shop. He was a mechanic. I didn't really enjoy working with my hands very much. So because of that, there wasn't too much that my dad and I had in common. One of the things that we always had in common was original Star Trek, because back then it was in syndication, so it was all over the place. And when it was on, my dad and I would usually sit down and watch it, because it was something that we could do together without him wanting to throw something at me, because all I really wanted to do was sit around and play video games or take machines apart. It wasn't good enough that I actually still wanted to work on something, because he was mad because it wasn't Cars. So most of the time, we didn't get along very well. So Star Trek was kind of the bridge that brought my dad and I together, because it actually got us to start talking about things that we both enjoyed. George has officially ruined that for me, because now anytime I turn on an episode of the original Star Trek series, all I see is him shrieking and screaming and yelling about how unfair everything is. I can't even watch the original Star Trek anymore. Thankfully, I can watch the reboots, because the new Sulu isn't as annoying, even though this character actually is gay and the original Sulu wasn't. He's still not as annoying as the gay guy who was playing a straight guy in a Star Trek show.
That's funny.
Now, just let the last little bit of that irony sink in. In the original Star Trek, Sulu was straight, being played by a gay man. In the new reboot of Star Trek, Sulu is a gay man being played by a straight guy. Just let that sink in.
I'm trying. It's weird. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so as usual, the left, they gear up, they march, and ever since Obama, they can't make anything work. So I'm really enjoying this, probably more than I should.
Yeah, I am too. I'm kind of like, as everybody knows, we're not fans of Trump, nor are we fans of the more lackluster, limp-wrist GOP. But this is, you just can't help but like it.
So, our good friend Hammy has a good little spin on this. This is Karen Handel defeats Jon Ossoff 52.6%, 47.4% in GA06 election. In other news, how many kids with $22.5 million have insured DIMS? Ouch.
Yes.
Because, they're really good about taking our money and doing whatever they want to with it, but God forbid they actually have to use some of their own.
Well, that's always the thing, and I could pull up the latest one or whatever, but there's a pretty easy Google search to do to see the total charitable givings and really what areas they're most charitable to on each side of Congress, of the political parties in Congress. And undoubtedly, when you even take, even numbers of them, the Republicans ridiculously outspend them in charity. And beyond that, the quality of giving is immensely higher. Meaning that the types of charities that they're giving to, for foster care, for impoverished children, for the veterans, for the disabled, instead of things like, some foundation for a very small subset group that's going for them to throw parties of some part of the LGBTQ XYZ, movement, or for some little foundation that is, again, very specific and holds dinners twice a year and then gives away money from those 2 dinners that they do to something. We're talking about really major causes and that have profound effects on lives. And it's not hyperbole, it's a fact.
Oh, she said the H word. I was wondering if she was going to throw out hyperbole.
I mean, it is. It's like year after year after year. You can look this stuff up. That it is open. Most of it is completely open. You can find it, and a lot of places will write up, kind of totals of these things and where most was given. And time again, Republican congressmen just beat the snot out of the Democrats in that area.
Well, it's because we understand how things like that are supposed to work. The Democrats honestly think the government's supposed to take care of all of it for them. So it's just.
Well, and they give to, and not in whole, but there is a lot of giving to a lot of obscure and random causes on the left. It's strange. Like on the right, you see a lot of domestic abuse situations. You see a lot of like I said, children. You see a lot, even animal shelters and such, and things that are going towards major life-changing things. The veterans and disabled, and having even going towards, their church groups and the various churches that help take care of some of these leftist pet causes, like refugees, that help sponsor people in other nations that are also impoverished, that send people over to help them. They're giving to those causes too. So it's actually fairly disproportionate, which is just, I remember it being in college and finding out that I could look at this stuff and just being like, what? And using it for a paper, and the professor did not like it one bit. He was very, very liberal, and he did not like what I found. But he gave me a good grade because I backed it all up with all of my research of what is very readily available.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing you went to college when you did, because today they just give you an F regardless.
Well, it depends. I had some of those professors. I absolutely did, especially at the University of Texas. Are you kidding me? So liberal. I know everybody thinks Texas, so they don't think so, but University of Texas rates up there as one of the most liberal college campuses in the nation.
Wow! So now they're starting. Yeah. Now they're starting to compare the dollar amounts that were spent. Apparently, the Democratic Party outspent the GOP by roughly $19 million to bring you tonight's GA06 results.
Oh my gosh, that is insane!
So it took them an extra $19 million to get somewhere near close, maybe.
That is just insane. $19 million. I
mean,
$19 million.
That really is crazy. Think about what that money could have done. Think about all of the children in this country right now that are going to bed hungry. Think about what $19 million could have actually done if it wasn't being wasted. Because they knew they couldn't do this. They knew it, and they tried to do it anyway. That's what drives me crazy about these people.
And for what reason? For what real reason? Because I'm not saying don't run somebody. I'm not saying don't run somebody and just throw in the towel. And I'm not saying don't campaign. But for what reason dump those amounts of resources and go through and dig into the pockets of the national organization to put in and to throw that weight behind it? For what real purpose?
Well, the purpose was they thought honestly, if they could tip this seat, because it had been read for so long, they thought they could use it to build a referendum against Trump, because if they could manage to take this seat, then they could start chipping away at him and proving, well, America doesn't like your agenda, because otherwise why would we have gotten the seat? Well, I got to tell you, America doesn't like most of his agenda, and you still lost the seat.
Right.
Duh.
Well, not only that, it's like, okay, there was a small chance that you could make it close, and they turned that into some weird positive talking point of like, no, it's not a small chance. It's a large, I don't know. They spun it out of control to try to take what was like a slight prediction of possibly tying this thing up or maybe winning into like a super big deal. But it just seems like such a waste. I get campaigning. I get making some statements, having a few people go down there and absolutely doing some fundraising to try to see if you can turn the tide. But about halfway into this thing, they should have realized maybe not another 10 mil.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have the liberal elites with their blue check marks coming out. Georgia 6 now deserves whatever they get. They knew what Trump was, and they chose more of the same. Ashamed to know people there who voted GOP.
Oh, my gosh.
So, Democrats, you apparently still are not learning, because now you're out trashing the people that just voted against you. Smart move. Good plan. Keep doing that. We need more stuff in 2018.
It's just more of the same. It's continued delusion. It's continued blaming and continued disparaging of the average American. Keep it up, buttercups.
I mean, please do. Actually, you know what? You reminded me of something. When we go to break, actually, we need to go to break because we're long. When we come back, I think it's about time that we play Crying.
All right.
Perfect night for it, so we're gonna do it. All right, we're gonna be right back. We have to take a break. Sadly, unfortunately, every once in a while we do have to pay some bills. Unlike the people that don't seem to realize we can actually make money doing this here stuff, which I was arguing about on Twitter all night last night, which was fun. But we'll be right back.
Here's George Foreman with Invent Help.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at Invent Help.
Call Invent Help today for free information. Invent Help has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. Invent Help can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call Invent Help today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put Invent Help in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-
We were all right for a while. We held it all for a while. But on election night, lost Senate seats left and right on fabled base. It failed to show. And though it hurt like hell, everyone could tell that we'd been crying tears of blue, crying tears of blue. The country said so long, left buried naked on his throne, alone and crying. this all got out of hand, and now we're crying. We thought our rule over you, it would last, it's not true. The race card might be dead, war on women at an end, and we lost all of Arkansas too. Our crampy policies, everyone can see. Unite blue, God was screwed. Our majority is all gone. We've lost all our drooling thrones, and we'll be crying, 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 yeah,
And we are back, and that was Crying by the parody band that we have around these parts. It's been a while since they've put anything new out, but I hear they have something in the works, so I'm really, really excited. But this was a great excuse to dust one off that they did a few years back, because all the libs right now are crying, and it's kind of funny. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're not only crying about Ossoff, they are also crying about a pretty encouraging, phenomenal Supreme Court decision yesterday.
Wait, you mean the one that says you don't actually have the right to be offended or not to be offended? How is that worded
The
exactly?
unanimous decision. Does everybody understand what that means? The unanimous decision in favor of the First Amendment and in direct rejection of the idea of offensive and hateful speech as not being protected by said First Amendment. It's really incredible. I was so afraid in this day and age that the court would be sort of, persuaded to go with the ebb and flow of at least part of the court. I didn't think it would be a majority. I thought they'd still win this case. But I did think that there would be at least a few dissenters, and I am so incredibly encouraged and proud that it was a unanimous decision.
That's the part that threw me, because like you, I figured with the new appointee that would have swung our way. I really did, but I didn't expect a unanimous decision. I really didn't, because there's too many bleeding heart leftists on the bench. The fact that they all decided, you know what, enough is enough. I mean, did they just wake Ginsburg up long enough to vote?
Yes. So anybody that doesn't know what this is, it was a federal trademark case, where the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office denied this rock band a trademark for their name. Now, they are an Asian American rock band, and they wanted to call themselves the Slants. And these Asian Americans wanted themselves to call themselves the Slants. And the Trademark Office was saying, no, you can't do that because it's an offensive name. This is the same situation that's kind of been going on with the Redskins. And is that offensive? Does it disparage a group of people? So there's something called the Lanham Act provision, which prohibits the registration of trademarks that may disparage or bring into contempt or disrepute any persons living or dead. So they had denied them, and there are lots of other things that have been denied based on this provision. But they unanimously struck it down and said that that's unconstitutional. And Alito wrote that we now hold that this provision violates the free speech clause of the First Amendment. It offends a bedrock First Amendment principle. Speech may not be banned on the ground that it expresses ideas that offend. The disparagement clause denies registration to any mark that is offensive to a substantial percentage of the members of any group. That is viewpoint discrimination in the sense relevant here. Giving offense is a viewpoint. Speech that demeans on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, or any other similar ground is hateful. But the proudest boast of our free speech jurisprudence is that we protect the freedom to express the thought that we hate. That is a beautiful sentence. I'm sorry. It makes my heart pound.
It makes my heart go pitter-patter.
Exactly. Well, and so then Anthony Kennedy. So everybody joined Alito in this opinion, and then in a separate opinion, Justice Anthony Kennedy also said that a law that can be directed against speech found offensive to some portion of the public can be turned against minority and dissenting views to the detriment of all. The First Amendment does not entrust the power to the government's benevolence. Instead, our reliance must be on the substantial safeguards of free and open discussion in a democratic society. I mean, these are extremely heavy words. Very, very heavy words. And they were absolutely definitive about this. There was no wishy-washiness to either of these opinions that were written in favor of this decision. And again, may I remind you, unanimous decision.
The unanimous, but I almost tried to say a fancy word and couldn't pull it off. The unanimous. I think that's a word anyway. Anyway, the fact that it was unanimous is still just astounding to me. I wonder how many other cases like this are going to start coming forward, because, I mean, you've seen... I mean, because isn't the majority of the left's argument right now with, you know, banning people from speaking on campuses and stuff, the fact that the speech that they're making is offensive? So here's what actually I was reading a little bit about today. A couple lawyers talking about how this is going to affect some of these places that have instituted fines for certain kinds of hate speech, that have that are not allowing certain kinds of speech on government property, which a lot of universities are, that all of these types of, it is going to trickle down and have an effect. That the great impact won't be seen just, you know, exactly immediately, but people are going to start to challenge this, and they're going to be able to cite Mattel v. Tam. And there's a very heavy precedent set here because it was a unanimous decision, and it was overwhelmingly, without dispute, the First Amendment is very, very clear, and the Supreme Court was extremely clear in supporting it, and that it does not get to have on feelings blinders. So I thought it was also really cool what Tam in this situation, in this case, what he wrote. He's the one that has the band that they were suing. After an excruciating legal battle that has spanned nearly 8 years, we're beyond humbled and thrilled to have won this case at the Supreme Court. This journey has always been much bigger than our band. It's been about the rights of all marginalized communities to determine what's best for ourselves. During the fight, we found the Trademark Office justifying the denial of rights to people based on their race, religion, sexual orientation, and political views simply because they disagreed with the message of these groups. To that end, they knowingly used false and misleading information supported by questionable sources such as UrbanDictionary.com while placing undue burdens on vulnerable communities and small business owners by forcing them into a lengthy, expensive, and biased appeals process. The Supreme Court has vindicated First Amendment rights not only for the slants, but also Americans who are fighting against paternal government policies that ultimately lead to viewpoint discrimination. Also, an extremely heavy statement with is just really well put together. Oh, it's just delicious, isn't it?
It really is.
To finally see a Supreme Court actually doing their job and not legislating morality from the bench, because that's really what this is. This is, the law is cut and dry. That's what we've needed from the Supreme Court for nearly a decade at this point, actually maybe even a bit longer. Because if we had a Supreme Court that would actually just look at things as if, this is the law, it's not a gray area, it's black and white, we wouldn't even be in the Obamacare mess that we're in right now, because no matter what they decided to call it, that was a tax.
Yes, and that's right. But what this does is, in a way, I think it kind of, for me, it reaffirms my respect and belief in this court in a way that I wasn't really expecting to, because, like I said, I did expect for there to be a few members that dissented. I couldn't have told you exactly who, and I'd hoped they wouldn't. This seemed very obvious to me, what the answer was. Not that there wasn't a good argument to be made on the other side. There actually was, in this case, a fairly good argument to be made, in good faith, but it still violates the Constitution. So it doesn't matter how good that argument is, or how well-intentioned it may be, it still is in violation of the Constitution. And now the Redskins are off the hook. It doesn't mean they'll get any less political pressure or pressure within the sports community or even by the NFL to change their name, but their dispute specifically with the government has dissolved, basically, with this decision. They cannot deny or cancel their trademark registration because they deem it offensive any longer, which was the threat, that in the future, when they had to relicense, that they would be denied the name.
Which has always been insane to me, because I remember as a kid watching the historical footage of some of I believe they were actually the code talkers, coming down onto the Redskin field wearing the Redskin jackets and being honored on that field. And, well, you need to get rid of that name because it's offensive. Really? It didn't seem to be offensive to those guys that actually were Native Americans standing on a field being honored for what they did in the war. So why is it offensive to you? I mean, but that's been one of my things all along. Free speech does not guarantee you the right to not be offended. It guarantees you the ability to tell somebody to STFU if that's what you want to do, and I do it all the time.
Right, right. And I think that people also get confused, though, because speech is allowed to be limited in a lot of situations, as in it's allowed to be limited that you can't just raise hell however you want to and, go nuts in an auditorium when there's a scheduled speaker, for instance, or you can't just, go screaming in someone's face that's standing on the sidewalk and harass them as they walk by, and not expect some sort of recourse if you continue to do so. So, there are situations, and a business, someone, your employer can say you're not allowed to talk about X, Y, and Z. Not in this job. That's not okay. It's not within our policies. So there are things like that are protected, limited speech, but it's not the government saying that you cannot do this or that. With this U.S., Patent and Trademark Office, that is the government that was shutting down this speech. So that is the important distinction here. And it doesn't mean that all speech is appropriate. It doesn't mean that all speech must be heard or has to be said. It doesn't mean that you have to listen either. So, maybe next time you don't like something that you're hearing, walk away, turn the channel, whatever it is, but you don't have the right to shut it down simply because you're offended.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what the blowback's going to start being on college campuses now if this stuff continues to escalate the way that it has been. Because, it seems like anytime anymore anybody says anything they don't agree with, you're just not going to be allowed to speak here.
Technically, the colleges can say that. Technically, they can say we don't want anybody that we don't approve of speaking here. Now, government-funded colleges, not necessarily. There's usually some sort of rules in place about all of that. I know when I was with the Young Republicans and the Young Conservatives of Texas at the University of Texas that the university had to at least give us, like, if the college Democrats got X amount of funding and they were bringing 2 speakers on, then we had to be given equal opportunity and funding to do the same, and they couldn't deny that, but they did have to approve the speaker. They were allowed to do that. So there are of course, there's like all sorts of intricate little things about all of that, but I do think that I think that there will be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe just a little more care to how they approach this. I would hope that a lot of these administrations would be a little bit more careful now that there has been a pretty, just a really heavy-handed answer about what free speech means. But who knows? I think it's going to get worse. I think college campuses in general, when it comes to this kind of thing, is going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, no, it's interesting that you bring up the fact that the colleges actually do have the ability to do that, because there's this thing that most people don't seem to understand, and that is most things like a college campus or even a school campus or a mall are what are legally termed as private property with public access.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that whoever administers the building has the ability to determine what is or is not acceptable speech. It's why folks, when you go into a mall, you see these nice little signs that say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't wear this, you can't say this, or we can ask you to leave. So it's one of the things that I've just kind of kept in my back pocket until we got to here, because I've seen all these people freaking out over people being uninvited to speak and this, that, and the other. And I'll admit, if they extended the invitation to them, then they probably should have cleared it with the administration of the school first. Now, if it was cleared through the school administration and then they rescinded, I have a problem with that. And if there,
which actually has been happening quite a bit. They've gotten backlash from the public or from the media, and so then the university itself, who had already approved it, is rescinding the invitation. And I think that's bullcrap. I think that's completely gutless. But as far as if the organization has just extended the invitation and they haven't gotten it approved ahead of time, well, kind of tough cookies, But even still, though, it's not a free speech issue, and I hate it. The right is really bad about conflating what is actually free speech and what is just, what is not. And you're not. The government wasn't telling you that speaker couldn't come speak, so therefore it is not violating free speech. Should they still be able to? Should we encourage that kind of open discussion and debate and hearing people that maybe a lot of people don't want to listen to, but allow them to speak anyway? Should we encourage that, especially on a place that is supposed to be fostering minds and really teaching these students? A college campus is absolutely the appropriate forum for the exchange of these ideas and for putting forth speakers that maybe aren't very popular, but they're the ones shutting them down. That is disappointing, but violating the 1A, no.
No, but like I said, I kept meaning to bring this up on the previous show, and it just kind of managed to come back around to that. So I wanted to put that out there, because for everybody that's been being upset about the whole people being disinvited to speak in colleges, which I don't agree with. Honestly, I think people should basically be allowed to say just to put it bluntly, people should be allowed to say whatever the hell they want to say, because then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to listen to it, and at least all the ideas are getting out there. Yes, some of them are going to be completely crazy, and yes, we have the ability to rant against them, like I've just done against George Takei for half the evening, but he still has the right to say what he wants to say. But he also has to face the consequences of the things that he says, and I think he's managed to alienate quite a few people that used to look up to him, because he's become nothing but a shrieking, negative, angry old man. But, who knows? I'm only 44, so in 20 years I may or may not be about the same. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think and when we talk about the college campus aspect of anything, I think it is a dang shame. I think it is such a shame that colleges are allowing students that are mad about a particular speaker or whatever to bully them into disinviting, or that the threat of violence is so huge that they have to do it for the safety of everyone. That is so wild to me. That is absolutely inexcusable that people are behaving this way. And I think it's so disappointing in the cases where it's not about a safety issue, it's just about an outrage issue. It's so disappointing to me that they're giving into that crap. This is exactly the place where it should be a free market of ideas and should be open debate and discussion. And the vile things that I heard on my campus And then the really awesome things that I heard on my campus were absolutely valuable to me in my education and being able to provoke my own thought and solidify my beliefs and to spark debate with all kinds of different students and professors that I think were extremely beneficial to sharpening my brain, actually. So it's just extremely disappointing that this is a place where all of that is getting shut down.
Oh, sorry, I just got distracted by the weirdest headline I think I have ever seen, which I'm not going to read on the air because it's absolutely disgusting. But anyway, we are actually just about out of time. Unfortunately, actually, we're over time. Unfortunately, due to the technical issues tonight, by the time I get this shut down, there won't be any way that I can get An America Off the Rails started up and have it done before probably 1 in the morning because of everywhere I have to send it to. So there will not be a live broadcast of America Off the Rails tonight. We will, however, be back with you live tomorrow night. On the way out, why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you are not on the radio hanging out with me?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at jholmstead, Facebook, JR Homestead, and check out misfitspolitics.com where we are writing stuff, laughing about things, and tomorrow night we have our Misfit Gift Challenge to lighten things up on Twitter for about an hour. So follow us at Misfits Politics and check us out at misfitspolitics.com.
If you guys aren't following them yet, you really, really, really need to. That is an awesome group of folks. I check them out daily, and I've actually even found some time to get involved in their little hashtag stuff that they do from time to time. Sadly, you guys are usually doing one right in the middle of Dan and I doing a show, so I always miss the tail end of that one. But
I know. Well, I try to start it about between 8 and 8:30 Eastern on Friday nights and then wrap it up around midnight Eastern. And it just kind of depends how that goes, if that works. Because I want to be able to include East Coast, and West Coast at least for an hour or two either side. But it gets kind of tough. And sometimes it doesn't get started right away and y'all are already getting on your show.
Yeah, but it's all right. I've managed to get in a little bit. On the way out, I have one other thing to say. So far, we know for a fact that $1 million has been donated from Planned Parenthood. We know that the Democratic Party outspent the Republican Party by $19 million. If you guys are just going to throw around insane amounts of money like that, I'm right here.
Yeah, think about the little people. We don't mind.
I'll gladly take some. You won't like what I do with it because I'll finish building a media empire that will destroy you, but I'll take some of your money first.
Exactly.
All right, so on that note, we are officially out, folks. This has been Jen and Rick. If you've missed it, hang out for just a minute. It'll actually reset. You can come back and listen to the whole podcast. I do encourage you to listen to the whole thing if you've just gotten started. And also, if you're listening, whether you're listening live, podcast, MemberX, however you listen, thank you very much for taking the time to do so. And if you happen to be subscribed on iTunes, please give us a follow over there and a rating. We're actually trying to work on getting our iTunes clout up a little more because we are actually working on getting KLRN Radio a provider page for iTunes. And apparently there's a bunch of hoops you got to jump through to make that happen. But we're working on that right now. So we will see you guys when we see you. And just for fun, we're going to go out with crying again. So why not?